do. Jump over to GC. Absolutely raging here to the upside in gold. And what I want to do just very quickly, obviously you're seeing that clear rising mode that is now going vertical. I think that is key to understand because we can see a move that is, really far greater than what logic would say when you get into this phase. Let me hide the drawings for 1 second, go to maximum time available here, because I want to show you um, these periods when gold goes vertical. Look at the angle, right? See that? See how it's literally going vertical? Okay, let's go back. Zoom out on the chart so you can really understand this. That formed the peak. Sharp rally, right? From this old high at 1780 all the way up to almost 2100 prior to seeing that pullback. Let's go back. This was fairly steady until it started to get steep. Now this is back in 2011. Went vertical. Look at from that old high right there at 1578, it moved all the way up to 1926. Huge move, almost $400, basically straight up. Look at how this traded. Straight up. Okay? Go back. Again, I am purposely zooming out. I know it is going to be harder to see, but I want you to see the angles, at which we rallied and how that suddenly changed right here. Look at this move here from that high to that high here. How much was that in terms of a dollar value move? $156 or 27% straight up. Look at the action straight up. No red bars. Just, buying, buying, buying into the high. And look at how that ended up retracing. It formed a V-spike high, just as all of these did. They all formed V-spike highs, but you simply cannot be trying to fade a move like this until there is a clear peak that is in place. If you want to simply wait for a move on the weekly chart, you can, because you can see there were still actionable moves down. You don't have to be early here. If you zoom out again, obviously this is now having a move off of that low, but you can see straight up, and look at how that traded off of that low, off that high, right? Formed the peak, big shooting star, and then it retraced the whole move. So we just have to see how high, if I go forward, if you want to close your eyes for a second as I'm zooming forward, how high is this going to go? We don't know, right? Nobody knows. But at some point, whenever it does peak, you'll see it on the weekly, give time for a clear failure, start to see it curl down. But this is getting unhealthy right here. But it doesn't mean it's a fade. It's not. You have to let it play out, let it see what it's going to do. But the angles will help you. That's telling you you are in euphoria mode. That's where we are right now in gold. How high is this going to go? No one knows, and that's really not the point. The overall point would be to wait until you see a clear failure on that weekly bar on the intermediate term, and then there would be good odds that it actually retraces a lot of whatever move this has on the upside. Let's just say you have bars like this and it goes all the way up to somewhere around 3,600. Possible, right? Once that peak forms, you see a clear, let me see if I can do this properly. You see a clear shooting star or something like that, right? And then it starts to curl its way back down, and it starts to then take out that low on a closing basis. That's when you have a fade opportunity for a move to retrace much of that move, right? You can kind of visualize how this could end up playing out. But right now, let it go, right? We are in a power move on the upside. Let's just see what it can do. Keep your eyes on silver during this overall time period. As I just highlighted for our Trade Idea level 3 and 4 members, silver, if it tries back over 35, which I'll show you here next, could be a really interesting opportunity to play this mode of euphoria in gold. It'll also likely filter into silver if that were to happen, right? So that's what I'm going to be watching for, right? You just have to understand, where are we in a phase, right, of a market? What is the overall sentiment phase? We're in the euphoria phase of gold, very likely. that means that we could see a move that is much greater than what most people think would be logical. That would be obviously a very good trading opportunity, but you have to be aware about where you are in that sentiment cycle. So we are blowing out here on the upside and likely still to go higher prior to this ending. But when it ends, you would see it very likely also retrace and sharply much of that move. So that is what I will be watching for. 519 to 77 is when that low is due. On the daily time frame, bullish cycle structure. So what I highlighted last time was to be watching that 78.6. A move over that 78.6 on a closing basis says this is still in play to the upside. And look at how it closed versus that 78.6 at 31.52. Closed at dead highs. That said, only look long. This is only long. And any kind of reason to be watching for highs is not in play on that bar right there. And you can see since that point, straight up. And this is very likely, as I said, going into euphoria mode here in gold. If we now bring over our fibs from cycle low, cycle high, cycle low, 3388, 3502, 3500 is certainly in play here on the upside in the short term in gold. I would look for this to really drift its way higher here in the coming weeks as it trades up, right? You want to see very likely that rising 8 EMA holding on a closing basis. When you get into this phase, that's usually what happens. It'll hold right around 32.13 right now. Obviously, that's rising as price makes higher highs. But basically, what you have is you have folks trying to fade who, because it has moved a lot, who are not able to get out. So they keep having to hit at market, and you see a drift. That's why you aren't seeing any obvious downticks. Look at even this day right here, just holding tight, couldn't even move through that low. And then you have a little inside bar, a little triangle that is now breaking up, right? This is all signs that you have traders trapped in gold, right? And so these are just very subtle things to be watching for. So that's the look there at GC, clearly in a rising mode and in euphoria mode.